Hi Dasha. Welcome to
Hi,
another
Carla.
episode of Real Estate Straight Talk. Your host, Carla Olivares, broker associate with Exp Realty. My guest today is Dasha Polyakova, an attorney with ATN Advisors, Title Network. And I just want to introduce her, and she's going to talk today about FIRPTA and foreign nationals when they purchase property in the United States. So take it away, Dasha, and tell us a little bit about you and what you do, your hobbies, anything that you would like to tell us about yourself.
Hi, Carla. Thank you so
How
much
are
for
you?
having me. Uh, I love talking about real estate. So when
Yeah.
you invited me, I was very excited to come on board. And I am an attorney here, licensed in Florida. I work for Advisors Title Network. I also have my own law firm. Uh, Primarily, the work I do is with the title company. It is my dad's title company from Chicago. We have been in business about 20 years now. And now we have expanded into the state of Florida because I moved down here and got my license. So I'm very excited to share with you just some interesting facts about international closings, because this is something that we definitely see a lot of, especially in the past couple of years. The number of people coming from other countries is definitely increasing, and primarily in the Miami area, in the South Florida area. So for you to be the best realtor you can be, you really need to know as much as you can about foreign nationals and how to close them.
Correct. And that's why I have you here today. So tell us a little bit about, what is FIRPTA?
So FIRPTA it stands for Foreign Investment and Real Property Tax Act. This law essentially was put into place by the IRS because they were like, wait a second, we have all these foreign people coming into the United States, purchasing real property, and then selling it and making a profit and leaving. And the IRS and the United States government is like, wait a second, we want a piece of that. We want to tax that money. We want a little bit too. You can't just come into America, make a bunch of money, leave. You don't get taxed in America. You're not getting taxed in your country. So, well, whether you are or you're not, we don't know if they're disclosing it on their taxes. But mainly, the United States just wanted a piece of the pie, right? They want to be able to tax you, and it's really difficult to tax a foreign person because they typically don't have a social and they don't have ties to the United States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what is considered a foreign person then? It's just somebody that is outside of the country or comes to buy here? Are people with green cards, residents also considered foreign nationals?
So it depends. A foreign person, when we talk about a foreign person, it's under the IRS definition of a foreign person, right? So it's not under my definition or your definition, but it's what the IRS considers a foreign person. So typically when you're foreign, you don't have a social security number, you don't have a tax ID number, you don't have an EIN number with a company, and you are a person that isn't planning to file taxes in the United States.
I see.
So if you're not planning to file taxes, that means that the IRS can't get their hands on the money that you made, and that means that they want to apply this FIRPTA law to you.
Mm-hmm. So what happens if somebody fails to withhold this, what is legally required?
So let's talk about what is legally required, right?
Right.
So what FIRPTA is when you are a foreign seller, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you own property, right? So you bought it, you were foreign when you bought it, you're still foreign now, and you are now selling. The title company typically is responsible, the realtors, everybody involved, mainly the buyer and you
Mm-hmm.
are responsible as the seller to remit 15% of the gross of the sales price straight to the IRS. So the IRS is thinking, look, you don't want to file taxes, you don't have a social security number, well, we're just going to take 15%. If you think that you owe us less, then you're free to go apply for a social security number, apply for a TIN number, and file your taxes. And then potentially you can get some or all of that money back. So when we're talking about FIRPTA, it's typically 15% of the gross sales price. So this means the actual, if you have $1 million house, it's going to be 15% of $1 million. It's not going to be 15% after you pay your realtor and you pay and whatever credits. It's 15% of the entire amount, which is a lot of money sometimes.
And it applies to any transaction, to every transaction?
It only applies to transactions where the foreign person is the seller.
When is the seller? Okay.
Yes.
Are there any exceptions?
Well, there are. Sorry. So let me go back to your last question.
Sure.
So you said, what happens if they don't withhold this money, right? So this 15%,
Right.
what happens if they don't withhold it? Well, what happens is the IRS can come after the buyer, the title company, and at the end of the day, the realtors commission, anybody involved in the transaction, the IRS can go after these people because most of those people, they're all citizens, right? Because they're realtors, the mortgage people, they all have licenses in the United States. So that means that they have residency, they have social security numbers. They wouldn't have been able to get their licenses, their professional licenses without that. So the IRS just wants to hold on to somebody, right? Even if it could be the buyer, even if the buyer might be also foreign, but the buyer now owns real property in the United States. So the IRS can hold on to that property, right? The seller's gone. The seller, we don't know what
took their money on, right.
But the buyer now has this property. So the IRS is like, well, we're going to go after you since you're the only one left. So what happens when you don't withhold is really bad for everybody else in the transaction because they can get stuck paying that 15% that really should have been paid by the seller.
Which could be substantial.
Exactly.
Okay. And well, so what are the exceptions to FIRPTA withholding?
So people often ask, how do I get out of it? What can I do?
Are there any? Right.
There are a few exceptions. The main exception that we see that's very, very common is if the property is under 300,000, so 300,000 or less, and the buyer, I know it's a little tricky, right? So we're talking about the seller is the one that owes the money, but the exception has to apply to the buyer. So if the buyer will be living in the property at least 50% of the time over the next 2 years, starting with the sale date of the property, right? So the day that they acquire it, they're going to be living, them or a family member will be living in the property at least 50% of the time over the next 2 years, and it's under 300,000, and the buyer signs an affidavit saying, yes, I will be living, then the title company, then the title company will not withhold, right? So that is a proper exception under the IRS code, and it's completely valid. We use it very often, and we don't have to withhold anything at all. Everybody just gets away without paying any money. Now, if the property is between 300,000 and $1 million, right? So a little bit over 300,000 and $1 million, then, and the buyer signs the affidavit saying, I'm going to be living in the property for the next 2 years, 50% of the time, then they will still withhold, and we will still remit to the IRS, me as a title company, but it will be 10%. Which for some people, obviously, I mean, between the difference between 15% and 10% sometimes is also a lot, tens of thousands of dollars.
Right.
So
it could be substantial.
That's the main exception that we see. There are many listed under the IRS code, but they're very rare and a lot more difficult to get.
Okay. So what will be, a word of caution, if you would, for, people or foreign nationals that are thinking and purchasing here in the United States, investors, sellers?
So I would caution them before they buy, and they're foreign, they don't have a social, they don't have any ties to the country. I would just have them think about what they're going to be doing in the future, right? If they plan to buy and sell quickly, they might consider opening up an LLC here, right? Maybe doing some type of, maybe applying for an ITN number. So they might want to think ahead. And if they do think ahead, they can potentially not be liable for any money or be liable for less money, right? So one of the other exceptions that gets a little tricky is a withholding certificate, right? So withholding certificate, you have to apply to the IRS many months before your closing, because the IRS takes a long time to do anything.
Right.
And you prove to them, hey, I bought this home, me, the foreign person, I bought this home for $200,000, but then I put $100,000 worth of work into it. And then, you know, I lost this money and I paid this bill, and now I'm selling it for only 200,000, but I'm actually losing money, right? So you prove to the IRS, hey, look, I'm a foreign person, but I'm losing money here in your country. So the IRS is going to go, okay, so you don't have to pay any taxes, right? You don't owe us anything. And so you would prove this to the IRS, you have a certificate, you show it to the title company, and the title company is not going to withhold. Typically, if you have this certificate, you already will have an ITIN number, which is similar to a social security number. And if you have this number, the IRS is going to assume that you will be filing your taxes, right? So you have a social, I have a social. I mean, we're supposed to be filing our taxes, right? I mean, maybe we don't file them because we forgot or we didn't go to the accountant, but we're supposed to be filing, right? We're considered US citizens who are filing their taxes. So if you have this number, you're now not considered foreign under the IRS standard. And you know, they're going to assume you're filing your taxes, and so 15% will not apply to you.
Okay. Okay. Very good. So I guess so main thing is get legal advice
Yes.
on how to handle.
Yes, and talk to your CPA.
And your CPA, correct.
Yes,
so
but it has to be a CPA that is well-versed in FIRPTA, because not all CPAs deal with this kind of thing.
Or understand it.
You have to find somebody who knows, who deals with international clients and can really help you on that level.
Very good. Thank you for the advice. So, well, thank you very much. I guess if anybody needs any assistance or have any further questions regarding this topic, please contact Dasha, and she'll be happy to help. And please tell us how they can reach you, phone number, email, or website.
Sure. Best way to reach me is my cell phone number. Unfortunately, I have it on me all the time, day and night. And even if you call my office, they're going to route it to my cell phone number anyway. My phone number is, I kept my Chicago number. I'm from Chicago. It's 847-612-1249. 847-612-1249. And I have an email and a website as well, but I figure we can probably just post it for them.
We will actually, we'll put all your information under this video, and so everybody will have access to that. So, well, thank you very much again. And Carla Olivares here for all your real estate needs. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.